Welcome to this edition of News Today, where we break down the day's top stories with precision and clarity. Without delay, let's explore the headlines first. The Chief of Defence Staff has emphasized the need to develop a joint culture in the armed forces. European Council gives final approval to the rules on artificial intelligence. Competition Commission of India has celebrated its 15th Foundation Day. A recent study has unveiled the presence of microplastics within the testicles of humans and canines. Global Land Outlook thematic report on rangelands and pastoralists has been released. International Labour Organization released working paper on financing gap for universal social protection. Let us begin with the very first news. The Chief of Defence Staff has emphasized the need to develop a joint culture in the armed forces. While delivering a lecture, the Chief of Defence Staff called upon the three services to create a joint culture as they move towards forming joint operational structures and termed it as Jointness 2.0. The Chief of Defence Staff further underscored the importance of jointness and integration as prerequisites for the creation of functional integrated theatre commands or ITCs. But what exactly are ITCs? Theaterization involves creating unified tri-services, Army, Navy and Air Force organizations responsible for combat operations and internal security duties within specified geographic areas. Under the structure, assets from all three services would be placed under a theatre command as required, ensuring jointness in operational planning and greater synergy in battle. Additionally, the creation of such commands will separate the operational functions from the raise, train, sustain and other administrative functions, necessitating a restructuring of existing processes. If we take a look at the current structure of the armed forces, there are 19 existing commands, 17 single service oriented commands, that is 7 Army, 7 Air Force and 3 Navy, while the Andaman and Nicobar Command and the Strategic Forces Command, that is in charge of the country's nuclear stockpile, functions as tri-services commands. However, the creation of ITCs is not without its challenges. A lack of a coherent national security strategy, issues of interoperability between arms and equipment of different services and limited resources, particularly for the Air Force, to allocate the different land-based theatres and maritime theatres pose significant hurdles. To address these challenges and promote integration within the armed forces, several steps have been taken. At the institutional level, the appointment of the Chief of Defence Staff and the creation of the Department of Military Affairs under the Ministry of Defence aim to promote jointness in procurement, training and staffing for the services. Furthermore, the enactment of the Inter-Services Organization, that is Command, Control and Discipline Act 2023 provides a legislative framework for integration. Other initiatives such as the establishment of the Defence Space Agency under the HQ Integrated Defence Staff, that is HQIDS, further bolster efforts towards jointness. In conclusion, the Chief of Defence Staff's emphasis on developing a joint culture and the ongoing efforts towards establishing ITCs underscore the Indian Armed Forces' commitment to enhancing operational readiness and effectiveness.
Ahead in the news, European Council gives final approval to the rules on artificial intelligence. In a groundbreaking move, the European Council has given its final approval to the world's first comprehensive set of rules governing artificial intelligence. This historic legislation aims to foster the development and uptake of safe and trustworthy AI systems across the European Union while ensuring the fundamental rights of European Union citizens are respected. Key highlights of the legislation are: the rules follow a risk-based approach, which means the higher the risk of an AI system causing harm to society, the stricter the regulations will be. The legislation defines 4 levels of risk for AI systems. First, there are AI applications with an unacceptable risk, such as those that violate European Union fundamental rights. These will be outright prohibited. Next, high-risk AI systems, which could impact health, safety or fundamental rights, will require conformity assessments and monitoring. The third category includes AI with specific transparency risks, like those prone to manipulation and impersonation. These will require information and transparency obligations. Finally, minimal risk AI systems such as common spam filters will not face specific regulations. Notably, the rules have specific provisions for general purpose AI models, while those not posing systematic risks will be subject to limited requirements. Those with systematic risks will have to comply with stricter rules. In a bid to tackle racial and gender bias, high-risk AI systems will need to be trained and sufficiently representative datasets to minimize the risk of biases. Furthermore, the legislation has banned certain AI applications, including biometric categorization systems based on sensitive characteristics, scrapping facial images from the internet to create facial recognition databases, and emotion recognition in workplaces and educational institutions. While the European Union takes this pioneering step, efforts to regulate AI are underway globally. The Bletchley Declaration of 2023, to which India is a signatory, aims to comprehensively and collaboratively address the risks and responsibilities involved in AI by fostering scientific cooperation. Additionally, the Global Partnership on AI Ministerial Declaration, also known as the New Delhi Declaration of 2023, built consensus among members on advancing safe, secure and trustworthy AI. Moreover, the Hiroshima AI process by G7 nations is determining the way forward on AI regulation. As AI continues to permeate various aspects of our lives, these regulatory efforts are crucial in ensuring that this powerful technology is harnessed responsibly and ethically. Moving on to the next news. Competition Commission of India has celebrated its 15th Foundation Day. Let's take a closer look at this important regulatory body and its roles in fostering a competitive business landscape. The Competition Commission of India, or CCI, was established in 2009 under the Competition Act of 2002. Although initially created in 2003, it wasn't until May 20, 2009 that the substantive provisions of the Act related to antitrust enforcement and regulation of combinations came into force, granting the CCI its full enforcement and regulatory powers. The CCI is headed by a chairperson and 6 members appointed by the central government. Its primary functions are multifaceted and crucial for maintaining a level playing field in the markets. Firstly, the CCI aims to prevent practices that adversely affect competition. A notable example of this is the imposition of a penalty on Google in 2022 for abusing its dominant position in the Android mobile device ecosystem. Secondly, the Commission actively promotes and sustains competition in markets. One such instance is the ongoing probe against Apple for allegedly forcing app developers to use its in-app payment solution, potentially stifling competition. Moreover, the CCI plays a vital role in protecting the interests of consumers and ensuring the freedom of trade carried on by other market participants in India. Additionally, the Commission is required to provide opinions on competition issues when requested by statutory authorities established under any law. However, the CCI faces certain challenges, including jurisdictional overlaps with sectoral regulators like Telecom Regulatory Authority of India for Telecom and Securities and Exchange Board of India for the securities market. Another pressing issue is ensuring competition in the digital space, where traditional methods of assessing market power based on market shares may not be sufficient due to factors like network effects and cross-border issues. As we move forward, there is a need to clearly delineate the roles, responsibilities, and jurisdictions of the CCI concerning other sectoral regulators. Additionally, improving the understanding of unique dynamics and business models in the digital space is crucial to enhance the effectiveness of the CCI.
In another news, a recent study has unveiled the presence of microplastics within the testicles of humans and canines. The researchers quantified 12 types of microplastics and found these tiny particles within the male reproductive systems of both species. Alarmingly, the findings reveal that humans and canines exhibited relatively similar proportions of major polymer types, with polyethylene being the dominant form. This discovery highlights the potential consequences of microplastic exposure on male fertility, with a possible reduction in sperm count. What exactly are microplastics? These are small plastic pieces less than 5 millimeters long, harmful to living organisms. There are 2 categories of microplastics. Primary microplastics, which are tiny particles designed for commercial use, such as cosmetics, clothing, and microfibers shed from textiles, and secondary microplastic, which result from the breakdown of larger plastic items. If we look at the broader impact of microplastics, then these tiny particles pose significant risk to human health. Microplastic can reach humans through trophic transfer and biomagnification, and they have been linked to health issues such as endocrine disruption, weight gain, insulin resistance, decreased reproductive health, and cancer. Alarmingly, microplastic have previously been found in human blood, lungs, breast milk, and placentas. Furthermore, microplastic can harm wildlife, causing both toxic and mechanical effects when ingested. These effects include reduced food intake, suffocation, behavioral changes, and genetic alterations. On an environmental level, the ubiquitous and non-biodegradable nature of microplastic causes disturbance to ecosystem and reduces biological activity. In response to these challenges, various steps have been taken to reduce the prevalence of microplastics. In India, the Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016 were notified under the Environment Protection Act 1986. Additionally, the Khadi and Village Industries Commission launched Project Replant, that is reducing plastic from nature, and the LIFE mission aims to preserve the environment. Globally, initiatives such as the Countermeasure 2 project, the Global Partnership on Plastic Pollution and Marine Litter, and the UNEP Plastic Initiative are working to address the issue of microplastic pollution. In conclusion, the presence of microplastic in the testicles of humans and canines serves as a stark reminder of the pervasive nature of this environmental threat. In our next news, Global Land Outlook Thematic Report on Rangelands and Pastoralists has been released. The United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification focuses on the relationship between rangelands and the human communities, especially pastoralists, to identify approaches for rangeland protection. But what exactly are rangelands? They are natural or semi-natural ecosystems grazed by livestock and/or wild animals, often comprising a mosaic of ecosystems such as grasslands, savannas, shrublands, drylands, deserts, steppes, mountains, open forest, and agroforestry systems. Let us now have a look at the key highlights of the report. It is alarming to learn that rangelands cover over 54% of the terrestrial surface, with around 78% occurring in drylands. Alarmingly, up to 50% of rangelands are estimated to be degraded, showing signs of diminished soil fertility and nutrients, erosion, salinization, alkalinization, and soil compaction, all of which inhibit plant growth. The drivers of this degradation include land use changes due to population growth and urban expansion, rapidly rising food, fiber, and fuel demands, excessive grazing, abandonment, and policies that incentivize overexploitation. Turning our attention to the rangeland status in India, the country's rangelands occupy about 121 million hectares, with around 100 million hectares considered underutilized. However, pastoralists who play a crucial role in the management and conservation of these rangelands have been widely marginalized in Indian public policies, resulting in insecure tenure rights and access to their pool of common resources. In many states, pastoralists have been banned from forests and protected areas, further limiting their access to critical rangeland resources. Additionally, mining and energy projects have also prevented their access to these vital areas. Despite these challenges, the significance of rangelands cannot be overstated. They play a central role in achieving land degradation neutrality, support extensive livestock production system contributing to 16% of global food production, and represent 1/3 of global biodiversity hotspots. Furthermore, rangelands provide crucial ecosystem services including nutrient recycling, carbon sequestration, recreation, and ecotourism opportunities. Major recommendations to curb the challenges are integrating climate change, mitigation, and adaptation strategies which will be boosting resilience of pastoralist communities. Focusing to reduce rangeland conversion and other land use changes that diminish the diversity and multifunctionality of rangelands. And lastly, adopt and support pastoralism-based strategies and practices that help mitigate harms to rangeland health. In conclusion, the Global Land Outlook Thematic Report on Rangelands and Pastoralists highlights the urgent need to address the degradation of these vital ecosystems and recognize the critical role played by pastoralists in their conservation and management.
Moving ahead in the news, International Labour Organization released working paper on financing gap for universal social protection. The paper estimates the financing gap required to attain this crucial goal in 133 low and middle income countries. But first, let's understand what universal social protection entails. It refers to a set of policies designed to ensure social security for all individuals in a society. Social security in this context encompasses protection that guarantees access to healthcare and income security, particularly in cases of old age, unemployment, sickness, maternity, and other contingencies. Universal social protection includes 5 key guarantees for children, persons with severe disabilities, mothers of newborns, older persons, and the unemployed, along with access to healthcare. Now let's delve into the key highlights of the ILO's working paper. According to the report, the financing gap for low and middle income countries to achieve universal social protection stands at a staggering 3.3% of their collective GDP annually, amounting to an additional $1.4 trillion per year. In the current fiscal year 2024, the additional government spending required to attain this goal represent a substantial 10.6% of the total annual government expenditure in these countries. Turning our focus to India, the report estimates that our nation requires a whopping $135.3 billion to ensure universal social protection, reflecting a financing gap of 3.3% of GDP and 11.8% of government expenditure. To bridge this gapping financial divide, several strategies can be adopted, such as domestic resource mobilization through increased tax revenue and social security contributions, removing explicit and implicit fuel subsidies, and introducing carbon pricing schemes. Additionally, the need is to eliminate illicit financing flows such as money laundering, tax evasion, and financial corruption, as well as effective sovereign debt management and the creation of a new international financing mechanisms. On the domestic front, India has taken several measures to realize the goal of universal social protection. The Code on Social Security 2020 aims at the progressive realization of social security coverage, while the schemes like the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act and Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana provide rural employment and universal health coverage respectively. The National Social Assistance Program is another initiative in this direction. As we grapple with the immense challenge of financing universal social protection, the ILO's report serves as a wake-up call, highlighting the need for concerted efforts and innovative solutions to ensure a dignified life for all. The personality news for today is Bipin Chandra, an eminent freedom fighter and nationalist leader recently remembered on his death anniversary. Born in Sylhet district, now in Bangladesh, Bipin Chandra was one of the triumvirates of the three great extremist nationalist freedom fighters, popularly known as Lal, Bal, Pal. If we talk about his contribution, he popularized the concepts of Swadeshi and Swaraj. He preached composite patriotism as against Bal Gangadhar Tilak's Hindu nationalism. Also, he was imprisoned for 6 months in the Bande Mataram sedition case. He also wrote on the philosophy of Bengal Vaishnavism. His important publications include Bande Mataram, New India and Hindu Review. Through his remarkable actions, Bipin Chandra exemplified the values of nationalism, patriotism, secularism and rationalism.
As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. At a recently held Arab League summit, UN chief appealed for the Gaza ceasefire and regional unity. The Arab League is an intergovernmental organization encompassing all Arab states in Middle East and North Africa. India is aiming to develop its sovereign AI. The sovereign AI embodies a nation's ability to independently develop, deploy, and govern AI technologies. It aims at bolstering a nation's ability to protect and advance its interests through the strategic use of AI. An event was held in New Delhi under Project Udbhav. Launched in the year 2023, this project is collaboration between the Indian Army and the United Service Institution of India. A girl from Malappuram in Kerala has recently died of infection from Naegleria fowleri. Naegleria fowleri is an amoeba that is a type of unicellular organism that thrives in soil, warm freshwater lakes, rivers, and hot springs. A new study by researchers at Columbia found that ferroptosis is a major cell death mechanism that underlies COVID-19 lung disease. Ferroptosis is an intracellular iron-dependent form of cell death which is usually accompanied by a large amount of iron accumulation and lipid peroxidation during the cell death process. Serum Institute of India has started exporting R21 or Matrix M malaria vaccine to Africa. Malaria is a life-threatening disease caused by a single-cell parasite of genus Plasmodium spread to humans by some types of mosquitoes. The European Union activated its Copernicus Emergency Management Service to locate the helicopter carrying Iranian president. It is being implemented by the European Commission since 2012 as part of the Copernicus program. Travel and Tourism Development Index 2024 was released by the World Economic Forum. TTDI measures the set of factors and policies that enable the sustainable and resilient development of travel and tourism. Before we sign off, let's challenge your understanding in today's installment of Test Your Knowledge. We appreciate your company. We hope you found this episode of News Today engaging. For the solution to today's quiz and to access the PDF version of News Today, remember to visit the provided links in the description.